Hi guys, Europe's patience with Iran is wearing thin. This after they had a bit of a disagreement. It puts them in a situation where Iran is feeling vulnerable. Obviously, they've got sanctions on them against the spread from the United States, and all these countries are not dealing with them. Europe has been their one source of, potential saving grace, but that appears to be crumbling as we suspected it would. So the situation with Iran is, pretty much on point to erupt into something more, especially since Israel launched an hour-long airstrike on Iran in Syria. This is unusual for Israel because they kind of announced it straight away while the operation was still ongoing, and they usually deny such things, which kind of tells you that they're really going after Iran in Syria now. This is because Iran is creating a corridor of Shiite fighters from Iran through Iraq into Syria, and that would lead, obviously, through the Golan Heights into Israel, which they don't want. On top of that, we obviously have the news that the United States forces are withdrawing from Syria, so that's compounding things. You've got Turkey saying to the United States that they're ready to go in to Manbij, I think it's called, where the kind of US-backed Kurdish forces are, and we know how that situation could quickly unfold. So there's a lot of tension in Syria right now, and due to the attack from Israel on the 21st, Iran is threatening to eliminate Israel from the earth, as they have been doing for many years. But it may be that they decide, considering this unusual step from Israel, that they're going to take an unusual step themselves. That may be connected to this IPEC Go-To video. I was looking out for an offensive from Israel on Iran in some form yesterday, and that did happen, but I'm still not quite solidly sure that this video is correct, because obviously other events I was looking out for didn't happen, but that doesn't mean they won't, because there is still time and date reference within the year of the dog that applies, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. But after yesterday, the 21st, it could be that this scene here is telling us of a response from Iran, which we do think it is telling us. We've got the reference to 5 missiles and 5 points down here. I don't know if they're supposed to be taken together, but we do have these 2 jutting points, and we do have this 1 extended point. That could be a reference to 21, as in yesterday, when the attack took place. And then this could be a reference to 10 days later. The reason I say that, I'm not just taking it out of the blue, is because we have this reference to 31 in the clouds, or the smoke, or the tsunami wave just over here. And we have the eclipse reference in the background. This could be a symbol for after the eclipse, 10 days later, 31st. This is when Iran comes out, blocks the Strait of Hormuz, and causes the oil to slow down, as well as responding to Israel for their attack on the 21st. Keep all that in mind. Jumping back to today, the 22nd, New York is about to vote on a bill to basically enable women to terminate their pregnancies later in their term. This is on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, which was in 1973, and that may be connected to this video here. The Statue of Liberty, the New York reference, the unborn fetus. I don't know if they're supposed to be taken together, but it could be saying a symbol, which was put out in 2012 of today, where New York takes this landmark ruling on enabling women to terminate their pregnancies much later in their term than they are allowed to do now. Obviously, this is also a connection to Revelation 12. I know that, so don't attack me in the comments for it. Keeping all that in mind, or putting that section off for a second and connecting these two together. So, January the 31st, Iran responds to Israel, comes out and blocks the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, we seem to have a tsunami reference, because we have, first of all, Osama bin Laden raising up his hands like, kind of like a wave coming up. And then as the scene unfolds more, we actually have the depiction of a tsunami coming towards New York just there. That could be on February the 1st. And that could be where the 21 reference comes in connection to the volcanoes. Kilauea, Mount Etna, maybe others, I don't know. Stromboli is one I'm looking at. La Cumbre Vieja, I've obviously mentioned quite a lot. There's Yellowstone. Apparently, scientists are monitoring a large amount of magma moving up towards the Earth at the Yellowstone volcano. Obviously, we're worried about who's monitoring, all that kind of stuff with the government shutdown, people not getting paid, how many people are really going to turn up to work. They still have mortgages to pay, food to buy, kids to feed, medicine to purchase, clothes. You know, winter is here, so electricity, if you haven't got electricity, you're going to be purchasing other things like, you know, canisters of gas and stuff like that. It's a bad time. It's a bad time, and I think everyone can sense that and feel that. Just because it's, you start to realize that even if you don't work for the federal government, you do rely on them in one way or the other. You know, whether it's your taxes, whether it's your food stamps, whether it's, you know, any sort of benefits. You have to consider that if things go on much longer, you're pushing the people into a very highly stressed and tense psychological situation where anything major that happens could really spark an undesired response, or desired, depending on your motives, in the public. Talking about riots, obviously, civil war. It's not got to that stage yet. There's still civility, but you can see how it could easily start to get to that stage. You know, if a tsunami came all of a sudden, you know, if a dirty bomb or something blew up in, you know, Washington or Manhattan, as, you know, Obama talked about, or somewhere else, there's a lot of, yeah, it's really on the edge, so you have to make sure that you're watching carefully. February the 1st could be referenced here with the 2 for the February and the 1 for the 1st. We've also got the reference to the letter F here. Been pointed out before. February the 1st is a Friday, so that could be significant. Could not be. We'll see. Hopefully we won't. The F is also connected to the 8, which is, I believe, Fisher 8, which they're trying to give a new name. They haven't quite given one yet. Well, not a new name, they're trying to give it a name. And obviously, if that's all connected to Hawaii, we have the Obama reference. We've talked about that multiple times. I don't need to go over that anymore. Skipping forward a year to 2020, June 21st, I think there's a depiction of the Antichrist emerging at that point. I don't know if he'll be out, but he's emerging. As I pointed out before, the twin reference, Gemini, the solar eclipse, Gemini, the last day, June 21st, that coincides with the solar eclipse on June 21st, 2020. Obviously, that's also the summer solstice, you know, halfway point throughout the year. So again, significant. I don't know when in 2020, but in 2020, Japan will launch, well, the satellite that they have launched will produce an artificial meteor shower, and that could be connected to the end of the video we see here, where we've got the meteor shower reference. Obviously, this is just after we've seen the reference to Gemini and the solar eclipse. I don't know if it's, you know, later point after that, or if it's even on the same day after the eclipse, but that's around the point that they're looking for the Antichrist to emerge, in my opinion, in 2020. So if the Antichrist is the figure that brings a false peace, then there needs to be war happening prior to that, which kind of brings us to what we're talking about now, this kind of time reference. And this whole video isn't about one day, it's a timeline, I think. And now I look at it this way, it's a timeline that extends for at least a year from the point it starts. So keep your eyes open, be vigilant. We've already seen Israel launched their offensive against Iran. Even though they've been doing so a lot more, this one was unusual. All the reports say it was unusual, the way they reported it straight away, how long it was, all of it. So with this point being the lunar eclipse, the blood moon, and that attack taking place, if there is a reference to 10 days later with the 31, then we're looking out for Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz and responding to Israel, one or both. If that happens, we have the tsunami reference very close to that, which is some point February the 1st, February the 2nd. February the 3rd, I think, is connected to an explosion of some kind of bomb, a missile. I'm not sure, but that's the day of the Super Bowl. There's quite a lot of media references to explosions taking place during a football game, whether it's depicted as a European football game or an American football game. It's usually a European football game they depict it as. I'm guessing that's because they don't want to, link it directly to an American football game. So if you want to research on YouTube, the medias I'm talking about are type in Chinese Euro 2012 and you'll see an advert that was supposed to be about football has a war going on at the same time with a missile, what looks like a nuclear missile, impacting right in the middle of the stadium. We also have BBC Spooks Code 9, which I've talked about before. I've shown you guys that one before, where an explosion happens at the same time as a football game is taking place. The bomb appears to be hidden in the venting. Those are the two that come to my mind instantly as explosions taking place during a football game. So have to be very vigilant and careful on February the 3rd, especially during the Super Bowl. And then obviously the last reference after that to the year of the dog and something happening would be February the 4th, February the 5th, around the Chinese New Year, where if the other things have taken place before that, China's coming up, and symbolically the zodiac dragon is unleashed, and the dragon is a sign of China, so that would be another symbol to China coming forward around that time. I don't know how this vote today is going to go on this abortion bill. Most likely it's going to pass because it's just changed from Republicans to Democrats, and it's Democrats who have been pushing this bill, so it's most likely going to pass. If it does, bear in mind it could connect to this video right here, and not long after this, destruction comes in the form of a tsunami to New York. I don't know if it's just localized to New York, but I'll just say New York because that's what's referenced, but be mindful on the entire East Coast. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.